We grow when we give.
We grow when we give.
We grow when we give.
Nosotros crecemos cuando damos.
We grow when we give.
与えるとき成長する。
We grow when we give.
Welcome to ROG, Return on Generosity, a podcast celebrating generosity at work. Not financial giving, giving valuable time, alternative perspectives, and genuine collaboration.
Welcome back to ROG, Return on Generosity. I'm your host, Shannon Cassidy, and today's episode is all about joy, resilience, and the powerful generosity of choosing to rewrite your story. I'm honored to welcome Linda Shively, a Wall Street Journal featured expert, best-selling author, award-winning speaker, and neuroscience and mindset coach who has dedicated her life to helping women reclaim joy and defeat the dragons that hold them back. I took your assessment, and we've got to talk about that, Linda. Linda has spoken to some of the world's most prestigious stages, from the NASDAQ to Harvard Club of Boston, from Walmart to Carnegie Hall. With over 30 years of brain science study, a psychobiology degree from UCLA, and master certifications in coaching, NLP, hypnotherapy, and even laughter yoga, Linda's mission is as bold as it is beautiful, helping women elevate their joy by transforming their mindset. What I appreciate most about you, Linda, is your encouragement and guidance on how we can defeat the dragon and live a joyful life. Welcome to ROG.
It's so great to be here to talk about joy. It's one of my favorite topics.
So help us to understand more about your background.
Well, in 2005, I had to make a really challenging decision. I had to figure out how to escape an abusive marriage with a 3-year-old daughter who had tremendous neuromuscular challenges. And I debated on this because my life from the outside may have looked pretty good, but inside it was not healthy. The relationship I had was falling apart. It was abusive verbally and starting to get physical. And I was like, no, this is not a safe place. I can't do this. But how can I possibly take care of my daughter who had a neuromuscular disease called spinal muscular atrophy? Now, Jessica, she is a bright-eyed, happy little girl, bringing life and excitement and joy into the world. In that December in 2005, I looked for the day that I had the best nurse on duty. Brought Jessica home from preschool, put her down for a nap, looked at the nurse, and I said, you pack all of her medical equipment. I'm going to pack her clothes and her toys. And as soon as she wakes up, we're escaping. After a nap, flurry of activity, we left. And exactly 2 weeks later, 2 days after Christmas, I'm sitting in the pediatric intensive care unit at the foot of my daughter's bed, talking to the head of pediatric intensive care. And he came in and he said, she's not going to make it. I said, what do you mean? What do I have to do? Does that mean I have to pull the plug, tell you to kill my daughter? And just at that moment, all the alarms go off. Beep, 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 beep. Everybody comes rushing in, ready to revive her. And he was so calm. He just waved his hand over her bed, and everybody just stopped. And I picked up Jessica one last time, and I could still feel that life in her just for a little while. And then it was gone. I had heard from a friend when she was first diagnosed, and she said, you know what happens to you doesn't define you. It's what you do with it that matters. And I learned how to get through it. I realized I had to get through it because she brought so much joy into my life. There had to be a way to get past this. And what could I do? And so after lots of coaching and counseling, now I'm able to support other people to find the joy back in their lives.
Oh, thank you for sharing that story. That's so devastating. I mean, how did you unpack the timeline of finally being free and escaping to 2 weeks later? How do you make sense of that?
At this point in my life, after almost 19 and a half years, I know that Jessica got me out of that relationship. At the time, I had plans in my head of how I was going to get him out of the house and move in and have a team of friends move in with me, and we'd have this co-living space to support her and do. Yeah, that didn't happen.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for sharing that story. And is that like the catalyst that put you on the track to bring joy into people's lives and how
Yes.
to fight your dragons?
Because what I found is, after looking at my life, and it took, I would say, a decade to kind of get everything back on track. And I realized what had been missing was joy. I realized we have ways that steal our joy. And so I kind of played with it, and I have playful names for them, but I call them my joy stealing dragons.
So, how many dragons are there that you've identified?
Well, I talk about 5 of them. The first one is second guessing Sally. And second guessing Sally wants you to second guess every decision that you've ever made. And you're super confident when you make the decision, and then, nah, maybe I should go back on that. Maybe I should do something different. I don't know if I really want to do that. And just that cycle that goes back and forth. The second dragon that I talk about is No Good Nancy. And No Good Nancy, she wants you to believe that you're not good enough, that nothing you do is good enough. And then there was Perfect Paula. Perfect Paula wants everything to be perfect, and it often creates procrastination because, oh, I don't want to do that. I'll get to it later, because then if I wait on it, then maybe it'll be okay. It won't be great, but I didn't put a lot of effort into it. Or she'll just completely stop everything, like that email, oh no, I got to write it and rewrite it, and it never gets sent. And then there's Judging Jenny. Judging Jenny is one of my favorites, shall I say, because she loves social media. She absolutely loves social media because it's a great playground for seeing comparisons and like, oh, look at how everybody else is living. I have to do that. Or, oh, I can't talk about my pain because everybody else is succeeding, or I can't talk about my happiness because everybody else is miserable. And then my favorite is Overwhelmed Ophelia. Overwhelmed Ophelia wants you to have a packed schedule and a to-do list that is miles long, and wear that badge of like, oh, I'm so busy, as if it were a badge of honor. And she doesn't allow you to actually get anything done because you're just so overwhelmed with everything.
So do we have all 5? Just depends on the day, or we have like a favorite?
Some people have a favorite. Some people have a season. Some people have, depending on what the situation is. And people might have different names. You notice they're all women's names. These are my dragons. I named them. You might have different dragons. They may have different names. And as I've shared these dragons with people, people have informed me of other dragons. So I know that there's a team of dragons, and they have playful names.
Yes, and it's both men and women, and everybody struggles with these. You're talking about yours, and that it's not that we want to, eradicate them. We have to tame them. So being aware of it. So what are some of the ways that you, as a coach, listen for those dragons? Like, and so for our listeners to listen to themselves and identify what might be holding them back.
Yeah. I mean, if you find yourself in a pattern of not getting the things done that you want to get done, if you're living your life and it's good, but you want it to be great, but you can't figure out what's missing, some of these dragons may be causing that. And if you start to notice it, there are things that you can do to start shifting it. And one of the ways that I like to suggest is live a better story. And what I mean by that is, a story creates meaning. I mean, and so it's like, what is the meaning you have in your life? What is the meaning you want? An event happens. Okay. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? it's all in your interpretation. So whatever happened to you or for you, you get to decide what that means.
Yeah.
And many times people will think of, a tragedy in their life as a negative. Okay, it might be, but maybe you got delayed and then, you didn't leave to go on the road trip and there was this horrible accident that happened and you missed it because you got stuck at home. So it's like, who knows what the situation is, and it's all in your interpretation, and you get to decide what you want your life to mean.
Yeah.
And one of my clients, she had some challenges growing up and lost her spouse, and she just was struggling because she'd been the caregiver, always doing things for everybody else, and had completely forgotten about herself. And as we worked together and she reframed who she was and what her life actually meant, now she can show up. And yes, she continues to be a caregiver for her parents, but in a totally different way. She has the boundaries, she has the way to take care of herself. Not to say that it's easy, but she's not being consumed by it like she had been in the past.
So is that the place to start? Is your story about yourself?
The story about yourself. Like, what is the story in your past? Like, what is your life? What does it mean to you? And if you notice everything is negative and everything is woe is me, maybe you need to shift that. And maybe you don't. I mean, you can, it's up to you. It's a choice.
Yeah.
But first recognizing that it is a choice, because a lot of people may complain a lot, but what are you really complaining about? Like, what's really underneath that? Like, if you're not happy, why are you not happy? What's going on? And if your needs aren't getting met, are you asking for them? And
so one of the things that you do is laughter yoga. I'm wondering what that is and how does that work?
Laughter yoga is an intentional way of laughing. And it was started by a cardiologist in India named Dr. Madan Kataria. And he realized that his patients who laughed had better outcomes. And so he was like, well, how can I prescribe this laughter to people? And he started a club. Started a group. There were 5 of them in a park in India, and they would tell jokes to each other, and they'd start laughing. And then the group grew, and people would continue to tell jokes, and they got to the point where it was like, well, that joke isn't that funny, or I've heard that one before, or that one's offensive. And he realized, okay, we can't just tell jokes. We have to figure out something else. So he talked to his wife, who's a yoga instructor, and they started to create laughter yoga, which is laughing with intention. And there's a lot of the same principles that happen in yoga, where it's being present, it's connection, and you laugh. And so it's laughter as exercise.
Wow.
So you don't actually have to have humor or comedy, and you just laugh. And it's contagious. So if you're not really feeling like laughing, but suddenly everybody else around you is laughing, you kind of can't help
you're just
but
like,
laugh.
what did I miss?
What did I miss? And so you start laughing.
It is contagious.
Yeah.
In a good way, right? I mean, that's like something that we want to spread more, like you spreading joy, right? You want to help people to give themselves permission sometimes just to be happier, but to experience joy. I mean, how do you describe the difference between happiness and joy?
Great question. What I find is happiness is often around an external event or external situation, where joy is internal. So like people think, oh, it's a wedding. Okay, we're all going to be happy. But sometimes, you don't always have these big occasions to bring the happiness. It's every day you're with yourself. And so you can choose how to show up.
Beautiful. I love that. Intentionality is a key part of that, is looking for opportunities to experience joy, to like elevate your mood. And not to say that we're not entitled to a pity party or some of those lower vibration moments in life, because that's life.
Yeah.
But you're saying, like, recognize that that also is a choice, and you're not like a victim of the situation, right?
Right. There are situations in life that are very hard, and you can choose to stay stuck in it. And I've seen and I've witnessed people that haven't figured out a way to get past something.
So you are a generous person. You were recommended by Kim Clary, who is also a generous person. Tell me about your experience of generosity at work. When have you seen that? Where do you experience that?
I find generosity comes in different ways. I mean, often we think of generosity with time or with money, but generosity comes from like trusting and from the honesty and just being tolerant of other people. And sometimes that generosity is even bigger than, oh, here's a check or here's some money to do something. It's the subtleties of how somebody shows up on a daily basis where they're just being kind. I mean, sometimes that is the most generous way people can be generous.
When we're taming our dragons, how could we interpret that as being generous to ourselves?
That's it. We definitely, being generous to ourselves is key, because I've witnessed so many people, including myself, that we take care of everybody else. We do
Yeah.
things for other people, and then we're left depleted and wonder what happened. And so finding ways to fill our cup, so to speak.
And I've heard you say that you can't pour from an empty soul. So tell me more about that.
Soul is and now, I talk about pouring from an empty cup, but also just pouring from an empty soul. If your soul is empty, is like you're not connected to who you are, you can't serve other people. And it's like you need to fill that soul back up with joy.
So it sounds like one of the ways that you fill your soul and fill your cup is travel and adventure. So tell us about some of the ways that you fill your soul or places that you've traveled to.
I love meeting new people and seeing new places because it gives me perspective on life. And some of the places that I've had the opportunity to go that I think I learned the most was traveling to Pakistan and India, which is very different from the United States. And especially back in 2000, it
Ah,
was, it was eye-opening. It's just fascinating to me to see what is different in different places,
yeah.
what people do, how they eat, what matters to them. And all of that is, and just I love the scenery and
Yeah.
seeing nature and having been able to travel to different places.
So is there a favorite generosity story from your career that you want to share?
One of my favorite generosity stories is a fluke meeting, I could say, where I met a mentor in the bathroom because, that's where you meet the cool people, right?
Always. Yes. Thank God for the lines.
So she and I were in the bathroom and struck up a conversation, and she kind of took me under her wing, and we've been friends ever since. It's been more than a decade now. And
Oh,
it's just amazing that what started out as a mentorship around my speaking career turned into so much more because I didn't know all of the gifts that she had. And she didn't, well, she probably knew the gifts that I had, but she's very intuitive, and she helped me be aware of my intuition in ways that have been profound. And we actually just got back from a trip to Scotland where it was just an incredible connection to the earth, to the other people,
oh,
and to our intuition. So
That's so beautiful.
yeah.
I mean, talk about intuition, that you met online at the bathroom and like you just knew that there was something more there,
Yeah.
and you both invested in it, and now you have this beautiful friendship. I love that story.
Yeah.
So for our listeners to be on the lookout for those who you want to invest in, finding those people that you just feel drawn to, you maybe don't know why, but you are willing to explore that and stay curious about that and keep your mind open.
Because you never
Yeah,
know where you're going to meet them.
that's right. Exactly. Yes. So you just talked about your speaking career. Is there, because I know you're very mindful and you talked about meditation and being intentional, is there something that you say to yourself or a way that you mentally prepare before you deliver a speech?
One thing I do to ground myself is actually being intentionally present. And so sometimes that includes jumping up and down, patting my body, just like getting that energy moving. If I am sitting somewhere and I'm feeling like, oh, suddenly I'm going to have to go up and speak, I'll do some intentional breathing exercises to get myself present and grounded. Because I think there's something about being present, being here now. Like I'm talking to you, I have this yes, other people are listening, but we're having a conversation. So I'm fully present with you. It's not about what happened before this. It's not about what's going to happen after this. It's being here in this moment. And that, I think, is the best way to avoid all of the mental anguishes that we have, because 99% of them are related to something that happened in the past or the anticipation of something that's going to happen in the future.
Yes. So training ourselves to be here now. And are there ways that you do that? Are there tools you use or strategies?
I mean, focusing on breath is one. And there's something, if you put your hands together and just almost keep them apart, but like they're very lightly touching. So it's just super, super light touch. And just pull your fingers down on your palm and then put them back. So it's just almost like a tickle.
Yeah.
And that can get you like super present.
Oh, that's really cool.
And
We
it
had a
feels
guest one time that had us put our thumb and pointer finger together, and you feel the ridges of your fingerprint.
Same idea.
Same idea? Okay.
It's just like, what do you do? Because you're totally focused on that.
Yes.
And so then it's like everything else disappears.
I mean, that's positive multitasking too, right? Because if you were in a meeting and you catch yourself drifting off, you could just, do the hand exercise or the finger or something.
Or you can have your hand in your lap and touch your leg and just be like aware of, it's bringing yourself back to you in this moment. Like, because often we start thinking outside of ourselves.
Yes.
And so it's like, okay, come back.
Yep.
Where'd you go? It's like, come back in
come
here.
on back and know that that's okay, right? It happens to all of us.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Oh, so good. Thank you. I love that. So that's something else that our listeners can do. Tame your dragons. Talk about your rewriting your story, your narrative, being present, be here now, focusing on that. Those are such good things. So you ready for some rapid fire questions?
Okay, go for it.
Okay. What's one thing that instantly brings you joy no matter what kind of day you're having?
Going for a walk in nature.
Okay. Anyway, does it matter where?
Doesn't matter where.
Doesn't matter.
And I often will find some cool nature piece, even if it's a weed coming out of the cracks in the cement. It's just looking for something and just getting outside and getting some fresh air.
Definitely. A book that changed the way that you think or lead.
I've read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books. This was a very challenging question to think about. And I would say the one book that I continue to read is Mark Nepo's The Book of Awakening.
Favorite brain or mindset hack that you wish everyone knew?
I think kind of what we just talked about, being present. It's like finding ways to get present.
Yeah, the breath,
It's
going back to the
breath, or just, something to bring you back to your body, like touch your hand, touch your leg, do something to bring yourself back to now.
Excellent.
Touch the table,
Yes, some form of be here now. So we talked about laughter yoga. Curious to hear about a leader moment or some funny experience you had with laughter yoga.
The best experience I had with laughter yoga was I was leading at a Compassionate Friends conference, which is for parents whose children have died. And you may say, what? At a grief conference, you're leading laughter yoga? One of my friends said, oh, I'm going to come to your session, but I'm not going to laugh. I said, okay. She's like, I want to come and support you because you're leading it, but I'm not going to laugh. I'm like, okay. At the end, she said, oh my gosh, how did you do that? I laughed for 45 minutes straight. I haven't laughed in 7 years.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that just gave me the chills.
It's a freeing exercise. It's a way to tap into who we are and allow some of that heavier emotion to shift.
Beautiful. Yeah. Most surprising place or moment where you've given a talk?
Carnegie Hall.
And what was that for?
It was for a marketing conference, and I had the opportunity to speak, and there's nothing like being able to present at Carnegie Hall.
Amazing. That had to just be top of the list.
It was a pinch me moment.
Yes, no doubt. If you could give a TED Talk on a non-work related topic, what would it be?
I would talk about joy. And that is a work-related topic for me. So it's, but I would talk about joy because most people don't combine joy with work. And I think it is amazing to, it's important. We need joy in our life.
It's a missed opportunity because we spend so much time at work. So if we could connect joy or elevate our joy at work, I mean, why not?
Exactly.
We would be healthier for it.
Yes.
So last question is one piece of advice for someone going through a hard season and searching for joy.
That you can get through it. That it is possible to have joy and that you actually do have joy within you, even if you don't notice it. And so taking time to have gratitude can bring you back to joy. So finding something that you're grateful for. And initially, when I first heard about writing in a gratitude journal, I was not in a good place. And things would be like, I'm grateful I have a roof over my head. But start there. Yeah. And just, look at a flower. Notice how it smells. Notice something that you enjoy eating, the taste of it. Just start to appreciate the teeny tiny itty bitty things, and that can start sparking that joy.
Yeah, it's like a snowball going down a hill. It just picks up pace and size as it goes.
Exactly.
That's a great piece of advice. Thank you for that. Well, thank you for being Joy and sharing your joy and your lessons. And there'll be links in the show notes for people to check out your work and to take your assessment. And just thank you for helping us figure out how to train our dragons and have a more joyful life.
Thanks for listening to ROG, Return on Generosity Podcast. Please help us grow by subscribing and reviewing us on your favorite podcast player. And for more information, visit bridgebetween.com. We grow when we give.
우리는 나누면서 성숙합니다.
We grow when we give.
On rayonne quand on donne.
We grow when we give.